Hey, welcome to Tanya Outside In. We're up to Perek Tes Vav, and we're going to fly today, okay? We're going to try and get through the whole Perek. It's really not a complicated Perek whatsoever. It's very simple. It's incredibly practical. You might feel a little bit like, well, I know this already. And the reason why you might feel that is because of this, meaning that Tanya made a lot of concepts kind of very commonplace. But this is the Makor. Well, it's not the Mamash Makor for it, but this is where the idea really came from. If we're very familiar with it. Um, Okay, as a quick, just a very quick point is that when we moved into my house um, 16, 17 years ago, I wanted to do something Heilig with all the people who came, and we learned this Perek of Tanya. We sat at the table and at the Hanuchas Abayis, and we learned this Perek of Tanya. Okay, okay, Perek Tezvav. It's page 40. It's 15th parak. V'zeh yuvan masha kasuv v'shavtem v'isem bein tzadik l'rasha bein oived elokim la'asher lo avdoi. We've just spent the past three chapters, 12, 13, 14, discussing the Benoni, the mechanics of how he works, and then a few eights in how to deal with that internal matzah, what it actually is, etc. Now we're going to discuss the two types of Benoni. I know that we've spoken about the two types of Tzaddikim and we've spoken about the two types of Rishoyim, and we've only mentioned Benoni, one Benoni, but there's really two styles of Benoni, and that's what we're discussing right now. And it's the differences. It says, V'shavtem v'isem, you return and you will return and you will see the difference basically between a tzaddik and a rasha, and between an oived elokim la'asher loy avdoi. We're going to see the difference between tzaddik and a rasha, and the one who serves God and the one who doesn't serve Him. So the question is, she'hefresh ben oived elokim le'tzaddik, she'oived hu loshen hoiver. The question is, if you said there's the tzaddik and the rasha, and then there's the one who serves and the one who doesn't serve, it sounds like a double lotion. It sounds like what do you call it? Superfluous. Yeah. But the Rebbe is going to explain that the one who serves and the one who doesn't serve is not talking about the tzaddik and the rasha. He's talking about two types of Beinoni. Shahafresh, the difference between Oived Elokim tzaddik. What's the difference between an Oived Elokim and a tzaddik? Who she'oived who loshen hoiver. The word oived means the one who works or serves is in the present tense. Shu be'emtza ha'avoida. He is in the middle of the work of the avoida. Shehi, what is that work? Ha'milchama em ha'yetzer hara lizgaber alav. The milchama with the yetzer hara, to be misgaber over it, shoy, and to banish it, may ha'ir katana, from the small city, which is the body. That it should not become enclosed in the limbs of the body. In truth, it's a tremendous avoida. To make this milchama tamid. That's important. Tamid. It is constant. And remember, I'm just putting out my incense. That remember the the fight. See, when your avodas Hashem is just learning Torah, yeah. Well, when you're in the bathroom, maybe you'd have to fight, not thinking about Torah. But when you're waiting for your wife, yeah, who's buying a new pair of shoes, yeah. Well, how can you serve God? You haven't got Torah. There's no Torah to learn. But when you lift your perspective a little bit higher and realize that serving God is not about learning Torah, that's a chelik, a very large chelik of the avodah. But when we understand that the serving God means milchama im yetzer, and then we understand what the yetzer is. What's the yetzer? The yetzer just wants to be. That's all my yetzer hara wants. He just wants to be. Could be my yetzer hara is learning Torah. Could be my yetzer hara is to give tzedakah. Could be my yetzer hara is all different kinds of things. Yeah. So the avodah is tamid, tamid. Like we said, like pulling out one tissue to dry your hands with, that's already milchama yetzer. Yeah. Or standing up when when someone elderly walks into the room, you can't be bothered to stand up, or getting out of your place so somebody else can sit in your place, or letting somebody else cut in front of you when you're driving, or all of these avoiders. Yeah, that's what it means, tamid. There's literally never a second. There's never a second where we aren't zeicha to be playing the game. Never a second, literally. Literally. And it's a schus. I mean that, zeicha. We're zeicha to be playing the game, kol rega v'rega. Mamash kol rega v'rega. So that's what he says. Tamid. That's the Benoni. Aval tzaddik nikra eved Hashem. So the Benoni is called the Oived Elokim, which is present tense. He's serving God. The tzaddik is called the Eved Hashem. Yeah, why? Avat tzaddik nikra Eved Hashem b'shem Toya. It's a title, k'moy shem chochem or melech, like a wise man or like a king. Shkvar na'aseh chochem or melech. He is already that. He's not Oived Hashem. He's Eved Hashem. He's not serving God. He's a servant of God. He's become a servant of God. Kach zeh kava oved. Kach zeh kava eved. He's already a servant. V'gamal legamrei avodas hamilchama. He has completed the fight. He won. He fought and he won. He defeated Ye'im Hara. Ad ki v'garshehu v'yelech loy v'liboy chalal b'kirboy. And he has fought the battle and he has been victorious, and his now heart is empty within him, which means he's now available. He's truly available for divine service. Whereas we are the Oived Elokim. We're not Eved Hashem. We're Oived Hashem. We're serving God. The tzaddik is an Eved Hashem. He's already become a genuine servant. The Benoni, yesh gam ken shtei madregas. There's two levels in the Benoni. Oived Elokim v'asher loy avdoi. There's the one who serves God, and then there's the one who doesn't serve him. Afabichen ain't a Russia. He's not a Russia. Ki loy over miyom of shum aveira kala v'gam kaim kol mitzvah she'ef shloy lekaimon. That he's not a Russia. Why? He doesn't do any aveiras and he doesn't pass up any mitzvahs. He's a mamash, a good guy. This guy is behaviorally, he's mamash on the ball. Yeah, so how comes he's not an Oived Hashem? Yeah, kulam loy girsa. He's learning the whole time as well. This guy's givaldic, so you're like scratching your head. I don't understand. He never does an Aveira. He does every mitzvah that comes to him, and he's low pasuk pumi girsa. He doesn't stop learning Torah. Why is he not? Why is he not over Hashem? He's not making any milchama. He's not fighting. He's not fighting. Through the light of Hashem that shines onto the nefesh hakish, that causes him to use his mind to be shola over his lave. Yeah. Canal. Why? Because the Yetzer doesn't stand against him to stop him from serving God. He likes it. He enjoys it. It's geschmack. Yeah. And he doesn't need to make a milchama ever. Why? Because he's studious by nature. He's a nerd. He's like a bookworm. And if he wasn't learning Sfarim in a base medrash, he'd be learning textbooks in some kind of laboratory somewhere. He's just that's who he is. He's a studious person. And it's a haval in the world we live in. Eliezer knows this just as well as I do, is because all it is Torah, 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 Torah. And even in the Hasidic Olamus, where they pretend to care about other things, yeah, but really they don't. Yeah, that when your kid isn't that kind of studious kind of person, he's a second-rate citizen. And it's tragic. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. So you've got these people. So you get people who are they're just studious people. So now they're like they call them the top bocher. Yeah, that phrase just makes my blood boil to call someone. He's like the best. He's like the best bocher in the yeshiva. Like, how can you say such a thing? Um,
Yeah, they call it Mitzianim. Mitzianim. Yeshivas Mitzianim.
Matsuyanim, yeah, Matsuyanim, yeah. So this is not what it's about. That guy lucked out with a very passive, studious nature. Great, nice. Where's your avodas Hashem? Oh, you're not over the Shem. Why? Because you're just running with the program. This is who you got created to be, and it, so to speak, it really fits nicely with the program. You're a studious guy, yeah. And then he goes on. To Gvuois Hamora Shchoira. He's like a Mora Shchoira kind of guy, yeah. He's a don't know how to translate that. He's like a stolic. I've translated a stolic temperament. What that means, yeah. Shchoira. V'kein ein lo milchama matayvas noshim. He doesn't have a problem with. He's not sexually aggressive. Mipnei zumatsunon b'tivoy. He's frigid. He's cold by nature. He's just not a hot guy. You know. He's not a what's the word? Not aggressive, a passionate person. He's just not passionate. He's just a very, you know, that kind of guy. He just doesn't really care about pleasure. He's just not a pleasure person, you know. He just give him his books, sit him in his laboratory, and timid. Okay, yeah. He's just that's who he is. ולכן אין צורך לסבוינן כל כך בגדולת Hashem. Therefore, he doesn't need to be misboinen on Gedulas Hashem. Lohoilid mebinasoi ruach das. V'yiras Hashem b'moichoi. To give birth to godly emotions and identification. By the way, what's the Ikka Avoida of misboinen kol kach b'gedulas Hashem? Where do we do that? Where are we misboinen on the Gedulas Hashem be'ikah? Called Shachris. Lishame shloi la'avo. Shachris is the key to Yiddishkeit, and the key to Shachris is Bazooka de Zimra. That's it. So the key to everything is Psuka de Zimra, because Shachris is the key to Yiddishkeit. Psuka de Zimra is the key to Shachris. So just all you need to do is take Psuka de Zimra really seriously, and you're set for success. And from my estimation, that means 25 minutes at least. But 25 minutes is a good amount of time, and that means that you have to start about 10 to 15 minutes before the Shliach Tzibor. Yeah, if you daven at a regular minyan, and then your whole life will be revolutionized. I'm speaking from experience. I started taking chakras seriously about 8 years ago, and my life was absolutely revolutionized quite quickly. Quite quickly, I believe that I owe the entire thing to Shachris, and I believe that I owe Shachris to Bazooka de Zimra. Shabbat Hashem. That's like my ultimate piece of advice in Yiddishkeit. Take Psuka Tzima really, really seriously. He doesn't need to be misboinen and gedulas Hashem. As in he's not taking shachris as and that he doesn't do any mitzvahs lo yisaseh, any averas. And he's not doing any of these avoiders that generate any love that causes him to do mitzvahs asay, meaning he's just running on the default program of who he is. And who he is a guy who enjoys avodas Hashem, and that's it. So like, where's the pat on the back? You're just being who you are. Whereas, I've got a friend who when he's who he is, yeah, if he just acts like who he is, if he runs with the program that Hashem programmed him with, or that he ended up with, people will die, literally. People will get killed. Ella. Dailoi biava mususeres. This guy, it's enough, just the latent love in his heart we're going to talk about in the next chapters, B'ezrat Hashem. Asher belev klalis Yisrael, that exists in the heart of every Yid. Shenikru oyhave shemoy. We are all called the lovers of his name. Therefore, he's not called an oived klal. He's not called someone who serves. He doesn't do any kind of he doesn't exert any effort or energy to do this. It's an inheritance. We inherited this natural love. Now this is shaykh to us Baal Teshuvos. Now there's also a guy who isn't by nature studious and frigid, cold. But this guy, he like what happens when you're about Shiva. He took out the time, he mamash pushed himself, and what happened is it the fact that he was behaving himself really well, it became a second nature to him. And now again, and once again, this guy plateaus out, and his avodah might look very impressive, but he's just coasting again. It's the same guy. The first guy was just born like this, yeah. The second guy is like a Baal Teshuva, and he struggled hard, and he hit a plateau, and now everything looks great. He's davening, he's getting up early, he's he's doing mitzvahs, he's even pushing himself, and it looks like certain avoiders, whatever he's doing, yeah. But it's all again, it's just become his nature, and we're going to learn right now the key to Yiddishkeit. This is the key to Yiddishkeit coming up. And the only way now that this guy's going to be serving Hashem is if he does more than what he's accustomed to. This is Yiddishkeit. Going beyond your nature. Doing more. That doesn't mean taking on chumras. That just means making sure that you're pushing outside of your comfort zone. Pushing outside of your comfort zone can look like this when you're sitting there with your wife and she says something extremely silly, and you respond to her as if she had said something extremely intelligent. Yeah. And not like with not with any sarcasm or whatever. With like your initial reaction was to just go, what are you talking? What on earth? And you bite your tongue and you hold yourself and you respond. That's called pushing outside your comfort zone. When your kids do something annoying and you manage to breathe deeply, and that's called pushing outside your comfort zone. This is what Yiddishkeit is. And also when you like right now I've taken on a certain learning project, and I've do it like I do with Pirkei Avos last year. After Shachris Mincha Ma'ariv, I learn a little thing which maybe 3 or 4 minutes. That's hard. That's really hard. It's getting easier now. I've been doing it for a few months now. Now it's become kind of normal. But these kinds of avoiders, and they bring you to life. They give you life. They breathe life into you. The harder you work, the more life you get breathed into you. It's like people say, oh, but you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out, yeah? And I'll say to them, there's a much greater danger of being snuffed out than being burnt out. I see people getting snuffed. You know what snuffed out means, yeah? Snuffed out is when you light the flame and it gets smaller, and you're like, and it goes, and the smoke goes up. I see people getting snuffed out the whole time. I don't see too many people getting burned out. I wouldn't worry too much about getting burned. About getting burned out. Maybe if we maybe 20 years ago when we're in yeshiva and we like that, yeah, maybe. But in the stage of life where we're at right now, I wouldn't worry too much about getting burned out personally. I would maybe be concerned that we might catch on fire, yeah, and bring the whole world up with us. Yeah, that might happen. But getting burned out, I wouldn't worry about that personally. I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so now he brings an interesting story from the Gemara. Yeah, the Ovid Elokim, it says in the Gemara in Chagiga, the Ovid Elokim, he learns 101 times. Yeah, he has 101 times. The one who doesn't serve, he only learns what he learned 100 times. Why? Pardon me. Hainu. In those days, they were accustomed, they were accustomed to learn everything they learned 100 times. He brings another mashal that there was a shuk shel chamurim, like they would rent out donkeys. That for 10 passes, whatever, 10 miles, it would cost you one zuz. Yeah. But for 11 miles, they charge you 2 zuz. Didn't make sense. They should charge you 1.1 zuz. Why is it double? Why? Because it was more than what they were accustomed. It was off the beaten track. It was more, it was that little bit extra. And Arnold Schwarzenegger says this, and Stephen Covey also says this. Arnold Schwarzenegger says that when you're doing your when you're pumping out, yeah, and it starts to hurt, that is when it starts making a difference. Only then. That's when all the fibers like tear and then they re-knit together and they become stronger and bigger. Yeah, it's dafka when you've done enough. It's at that point where it begins, and it's the same with your emotional muscles. It's when that kid takes you to the edge. Until the edge, nothing happened. That's just who you are. And that's why Hashem always takes you past that edge. Always, always, always. It's always happening. Your wife will always go that extra mile. Your kids will always go that extra mile. Your employers will always say that extra. That's how he's bringing us to where we need to get to. So just very quickly, Meir Pamim, a Malek is Loshen Amul Kuf. Work hard for 100, but just 100. We go to 101. That's our avoider. The avoider of the Yid is to go to 101. A Malek is Amul Kuf. He just is Amul until Kuf. Yeah, but we know that really it begins at Kuf. Yeah, so that extra little bit that you do. Very good. Okay. Ulchein Zois Hapam Hameya Va'achas. It comes out that this 101st time he has Sarah ala Regilus Shehurgo Minurov that he was accustomed to. Yes, Shakula Keneged Kulam. That one extra time, the 101st time, is Keneged the entire 100 times before. It goes above them. It's worth much more. He's called an Oved Elokim. Davening Shachris is just like, how can you not daven Shachris? You can't not daven Shachris. You can't not daven Shachris unless you're mamash ill, yeah? That's not it. That's not it. That's not where your avoider is at. That's not where your relationship is at. That's not where your excellence is at. That's not where your energy is coming from. Your energy comes from the 101st time. Yeah, you can look back and say, look, I keep kosher, I go to shul, I don't speak Lashon Hara. You can say all that stuff, yeah? And it's true and it's nice and it's lovely. But if you want to like fly, if you want to like stick in the jet fuel, It has to be that 101st time. That's where all the magic takes place. And you only you are going to be able to tell yourself where you can do that and what's too much, what's not. The 102nd time might be too much, but the 101st time, you have to. No one's going to tell you about it. No one's going to tell it for you. You have to work that out for yourself. Have to be a giver to do that. Okay, but that's the difference between one who doesn't serve and an Oved Elokim. Imagine Asher lo yavdai and Oved Elokim. That one time. Hashem. That to go that extra mile, you have to daven shachris like a mensch. Bekitzer. I'll translate that into my words. If you want to be able to do this avodah, you have to take shachris extremely, extremely seriously. Pay it the respect it deserves, and you'll see.
Probably means the night before also.
Huh?
Probably means the night before also.
Vadai. Eliezer said going to bed on time. That's probably the key to Pesukei Zimra, actually. In fact, maybe we could say that your whole life is predicated on going to bed on time, because without going to bed on time, then you can't daven Pesukei Zimra properly. And without Pesukei Zimra, you can't have Shachris. Without Shachris, you don't have Yiddishkeit. You literally don't have Yiddishkeit. The way I understand it, there is not Yiddishkeit without Shachris. Because that's...
Hashamet Boker begins in the night. That's what the Tzaddikim say.
There you go.
Getting up in the morning begins the night. All the Tzaddikim say that.
We just had another tzaddik, Reblazer Goldschmidt, tell us that as well. And Eliezer Kosman as well tell us that. B'ezrat Hashem. You have to change your nature, you have to take Shachris really, really seriously. To override this bloody Yetzer Hara. That's where your nature comes from. That's our job description. Remember, everyone knows that we're here to raise up this world, yeah? So when you shake the esrog, the lulav and esrog, you're raising up that. When you put on tefillin, you're raising up the cow. When you eat meat on Shabbos, you're raising up the cow. When you wear tzitzis, you're raising up the tzemah gefem. When you learn Torah through Zoom, you're raising up all the doimem and all the chashman. What's the ikka thing that we're raising up? What's our ikka avoida? What is the thing that we are raising up? Whatever we're doing, the ikka avoida of the yid, to raise up what? And this is the reason why the nefesh bahamis of a yid comes from klipas noiga, and the nefesh bahamis of a goy comes from klipas tameas. Why? Because klipas tameas can't be lifted up until Hashem pulls the curtain. Klipas noiga can be lifted up. Our ikka avoida is being male the nefesh bahamis that Hashem gave us. That is in whether you're putting on tefillin, whether you're wearing tzitzis, whether you're learning Torah on a computer, whether you're giving tzedakah, whatever you're doing, you might be raising up the leather, you might be raising up the graphite, you might be raising up the tzemah gefen, you might be raising up the basa, you might be but you're always raising up the nefesh bahamis. Always. That's why it's klipas noiga. That's why our nefesh bahamis is klipas noiga. Because if it was klipas tameas, you wouldn't be able to lift it up. So that's the ikka thing that we're raising up. So changing our nature, what we are, who we are by nature, yeah, that's the whole game. That's the ikka aliyah that we're here to do. It's pasha exciting. It's pasha exciting. He avoided tamala beinoini. That is a complete service for the beinoini. Or to arouse the innate love that we have in our heart. To defeat, so to speak, to be Moshe, to rule over the nature in the left side of our heart. Shazun nikra gam kein avoida. Lilachem im hateva, to wage war with our nature. That is what we are here to do. We are here to wage war with our nature. V'hayetza, and the Yetzer al yedei shema'oreh ha'av mesuseres beliboy, through arousing the love that's in our heart for Hashem. Masha'ein kein kashe'ein lo milchama klal. That's not the case when the guy is not fighting in any way. Ein av azum et sadatzmen nekeres avoidaso klal. This love without any kind of arousal, without any kind of catalyst without catalyzing it at all, yeah, it's not called avoida klal. Bekitzer, that's the end of Perek Tezvav. Bekitzer, we are here to elevate ourselves, and that means it doesn't matter what it looks like. It comes out like this, yeah, that you can have a guy who, a big over the Shem, he's getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day, and he's saying Tikkun Chatzos, and he's, you see the whole time he's like this, yeah. But in truth, he's been doing this for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and this is who he is. Yeah, he's not, it could be that guy is not called an Oved Hashem. And then you got another guy, yeah, like this guy that I know, I said if he ran by his default program, yeah, people would die. I'm not joking, people would die. This guy, he keeps Shabbos, yeah, like I can't break Shabbos. I can't do it. Yeah. He keeps Shabbos, and he probably doesn't keep it as meticulously as I keep it, yeah. He's called an Oved Elokim because he's plotting to go and look at his phone, and he's plotting to have a cigarette, to smoke some weed, and I don't have that. So the Rebbe has just stripped away the graphics from Avodas Hashem. He said it doesn't matter what it looks like. You could look like the biggest tzaddik in the world, yeah, and you're not being Oved Elokim. And also, it could look not so great, could be speaking Lashon Hara, could be doing this Avera, that Avera, not davening Shachris, this and that and whatever. But you're pushing outside of your nature, and you're called an Oved Elokim. The Rebbe just completely stripped the graphics away from Olam Hazeh. Did you hear that? There's Moedik. That's that, but this is the real takeaway now. Forget anybody else, yeah? Is you need to know yourself, that if you are not involved in some kind of effort in your Yiddishkeit, if there isn't some kind of it's called in Kabbalah Patisha, if the Kalim and the Oiris are not banging against each other, yeah, then you're not Oved Elokim, and you're doing yourself an injustice. You're doing yourself an injustice. You're not going to be what you can be, and I mean, there's nothing more inspiring than working on full cylinders. There's no way of being more inspired than when you know that your mama's pumping. It's like there's no rabbi can give you divrei chizuk more than when you know that you're doing it. You become the source of your own inspiration, mamash. And as an agav as well, you lift up everybody else around you. That's just a side point. But you become your own source of inspiration only when there's the patisha, only when there's this friction, only when there's this avoider, only when there's this avoider. So we should all be zeicha b'ezrat Hashem to work out where it is that we can push, and make sure that we're doing that for not just for the Rebbeinu Shalom, just for ourselves as well, to make sure that we're running on full cylinders. B'ezrat Hashem. Nothing more. I just think of it like this. Imagine I saw one time I went to a very wealthy person's house in Jerusalem. Take pictures. On the kitchen table was my camera, not my personal, but my exact camera. Yeah, like a high level professional camera. Yeah, like a $4,000 setup. And I'm like, oh, wow, who's the photographer? And the kid was, my mum bought me a camera. She very wealthy people. They're like, well, I suppose I'll buy you the fanciest camera. This kid had no idea, it was on the green setting. It was like, he's using it literally as an iPhone. And you're like, that's Haval. It's like, imagine somebody buying a Bugatti and just, driving it to the supermarket and back. You're like, take it to a racetrack, man. This thing can drive at 250 miles per hour. You're driving it at 25 miles per hour. What are you doing? That's the same with us as well. We're like jet fighters, mamush. We're awesome. We're Pasha awesome. And if we're like trundling along, yeah, there's going to be psychological effects. There's going to be emotional. That's good. There's going to be emotional, a negative and emotional response. If you are a Formula One car and you are just trundling along at 20 miles per hour, there's going to be psychological and emotional fallout because of that. So we need for our own sakes, for our own emotional well-being, there needs to be that patisha. And we need to burn out every now and again, and you take a time out, at least you know that, that happens to me. Like, once in a while, once a month, something like that. I'll get ill even. I'll get ill and my body will make me stay in bed or something like once every couple of months. I don't know. Or whatever it is. And you'll get used to it. But there needs to be, for your own emotional well-being, there needs to be that friction. There needs to be that lachats that you create yourself in your life. And from my experience, if you can create your own lachats, then all the lachats external to you falls away. The point in the show says to you, you know what, you're going to make your own lachats. Baruch Hashem, I don't need to give you any lachats. That's what I feel anyway. Okay, we should be Zeicha B'ezrat Hashem. Sei gesund.